Thank you all for joining us today. It is so much fun to see everybody joining in from all over the world when we are together as one team here in Team Zinzino. We are all part of the same mission of really wanting to make a difference in the world, both with people's health and helping them with their wealth. But to do that, if you're going to build a big business in this industry, you need to become a leader of your team. And I've said many times that everybody can become a leader, but to become a leader, you need to have people that follow you. And if you want to have people follow you, you need to be the person people want to follow. Well, our guest speaker is going to talk about leadership and about principle-centered leadership. She's one of the people that I have said since I met her, even though she's younger than me, when I grow up, I want to be just like her because she has an angelic way about her. The way she leads is such a, a, a way that it's because of who she is. And you can feel it in her that she has done the personal development that is somebody that you want to follow. So I couldn't think of anybody else more credible than having her on here as teaching us about leadership. Because if we're going to reach our goals, everybody here, all us partners in Zinzino, if we're going to reach the goals that we have of hitting that 1 million here in 2024, hitting that 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, and 100 million people that we have made a difference for, then we need more leadership. So I'm so excited that she took the time to come on here, even though right now is really close to dinner time where she's at, and she has 3 children that she's with, and still she's here. So let's give her the warmest welcome. Thank you for joining us, our co-founder, Hilde Rismyhr Saele. Hi, Hilde.
Thank you so much, Carla. It's such a pleasure to be with you all and speak about a subject that is just really, really dear to my heart. But before that, I just want to say, Carla, that I am really, really impressed with how you lead these meetings. Now, I don't know how many years this has been going on now, but every single Saturday you are showing up. I don't know if it's been, any Saturday that you've missed over the years. It's been crazy. You stick to it, you just commit to it, and you're doing it with such an incredible grace. And that is leadership. I know that obviously this is something that is very important for the US team because it's happening on the US page, but there is so many people, like we see here on the Zoom today as well, that are logging on from all over the world, the Zinzino world, that is really getting inspired and empowered because of it. So I just want to thank you for doing it and being so committing in the process. Now, yes, leadership. Oh, there is so much to talk about when it comes to that area, right? And I would say that for the past 10 years or so, I have been really digging in to this subject. And I could probably speak for, well, I don't know how many hours. I'm going to share 9 specific principles that I'm doing my best to follow when it comes to leadership in my own life here today. And I could probably share, at least an hour on each of them. So I'm going to try to really keep it very, very short. But as I spoke with Carla here prior to this meeting, she said, well, let's give people the overview. Let's dig into different things. And I think that that is really also the key, is that when you hear all of these different principles, maybe not everyone is going to resonate with you, but maybe there is 1 or 2 or 3 that you feel that I really need to implement that into my life. And I do believe that if you do so, that has the power to basically transform your life and your business in a very, very short time. Now, the first thing that we probably should look at when it comes to leadership is, what is the definition of leadership? And there's probably multiple definitions out there, but for me, leadership is influence. As some of you might say, well, I don't really have a big business in Zinzino yet, I've just gotten started. But no matter how big of a business you've built in Zinzino, you're still a leader. You're still influencing somebody, right? To me, you basically would have to be living in a box if you're not influencing anyone, right? Do you have a spouse? Do you have children? Are you involved in certain activities? Are you involved in your church? Do you have a day job? If you're building your business in Zinzino, you are influencing somebody. The big question though is are you a good leader or a bad leader? Or said in a different way, is your influencing leading your team in a positive direction, or the people that you're around in a positive direction, or in a negative direction? To me, there are three kinds of leaders. It's the leaders that develop a community of following, so a lot of followers. It's the leaders that develop a community of performers, and it's the leaders that develop a community of leaders. And obviously, as we're all here and we strive to build a big organization, and reach out, we want to become a part of number 3. We want to develop a community of leaders where we help people raise to the task, where we help people grow and transform so that they can achieve their ultimate dreams by being a part of our community. So the first thing that I want you to write down, the number 1, is vision. You've probably heard me or somebody else say it before, but if I was given the choice between talent or hunger, I would always choose hunger at first. Actually, Orion and myself, we have a talk where we talk about the 5-star opportunity that we believe we're offering through Zinzino. And well, I can say that at this point in time, and also for a long time, we've been meeting a lot of people over the years, and especially during maybe the last year, there's been a lot of people with prior experience from our profession coming to us, where suddenly people's eyes are now drawn to Zinzino. And very often, what people are asking about in the beginning is, how is the comp plan? And obviously, comp plan is important. Comp plan is a part of the 5-star opportunity. But for us, comp plan is not number 1. Vision is number 1. And I truly do believe that if you're going to join forces with somebody, you have to know where they are going, right? If they don't know where they're going, why should you follow them? So in this process, that is really, really key. Obviously, Carla already said this, we're heading towards 100 million customers by 2050. Now, when a lot of people hear that, or let's say a marketing agency would hear that, they would say, well, maybe we could just change it a little bit and make it a little bit better in the way you communicate it. Quite frankly, there's a lot of companies out there that has had a lot of consultants in, a lot of marketing agencies in, that have been a part of developing, the company's vision statement. And maybe it sounds good, but the leaders don't necessarily own it. And I do believe that the number 1 thing with a vision is that you have to own it. You have to feel it. And we do believe that with the products that we have, between our hands, we have the power to make that a reality. We are pioneering test-based nutrition as a global megatrend. We believe that this is the way people are going to take their nutritional supplements long term. And yes, we're still in the beginning of that trend, but that's going to be the reality. So we're bold, we're ambitious, but we believe in it. And we're going to do a lot of work, innovation, a change, adaptation to ensure that we will reach that. Now, to you have to ask yourself, what is your vision? Now, some of you are like, well, I don't necessarily have that big, bold vision. To me, it would be nice with an extra income. That is super for you. Awesome, right? But you own that. That is what is important to you. Then you own that. But the key to understand with a vision is to understand that people follow leaders that knows where they are going. Principle number 2, own it. Be responsible, or said in a different way, show taillights. Many of you have probably at one point heard my story where I said, back in 2007, Rain and myself, we were sitting around our kitchen table and were actually feeling a little sorry for ourselves because we felt, that things were not growing as fast as we wanted. We wanted so much more. And we were just, talking about all kinds of reasons why it probably wasn't growing as fast as we wanted. Was it something wrong with the product? Was it the people we had hired in the office? Was it our leaders? And it's embarrassing to say, but we used about an hour to talk about all of the reasons before we realized that, we were pointing finger at somebody else. And as we were pointing our finger at somebody else, there was 3 fingers pointing back at us. And in that moment, we understood that, what, this is not going to work. We need to be responsible. We are the one to blame. If we're not happy with our result, we have to do something about it. And at that point, we decided, let's upper the game. Let's be responsible. So we went on a massive recruiting run, recruited a lot of new leaders into the business. We also decided upon that we want, as a part of our community, that every single person in Zinzino is going to be a team, having 25 personal customers. So we also both individually went out and got 25 new individual customers during the upcoming 30 days. And if you join any of our events today, you can see that that is for sure the culture. And I can say that in the beginning, that got massive resistance. People didn't necessarily want that. They were like, well, 10 is more than enough, right? But we said, well, if we're going to lead the way being customer focused, we have to set that as the standard in our company. If you're not happy with your results today, what's the question you ask yourself? Where are you pointing your finger? Now, I do believe that it's very easy to get into the trap where you say, why is this happening? Why am I not growing as fast as I want? Why am I not achieving all of the different things that I have set out to do? But by changing that word into how can I grow faster? How can I be better? How can I apply different things to ensure that I actually achieve my goals? Suddenly you are giving yourself the power to do a lot more. Now, many years ago, I remember I was attending a conference, and it was a conference outside of Zinzino. And it was a conference where I had actually paid quite a lot of money to get in. And as I came there, I was I was excited about what was going to happen and all of that. And I very quickly understood that this was a mess. It was a total mess, there was way too many chairs set up. There was way too big distance between the stage and the first row. The sound really didn't work so well. People got mic'd when they arrived on the stage. The DJ, well, he was trying his best, but he wasn't really hitting it, right? There was nobody welcoming people into the room. So it just was a mess. And I could hear the complaints everywhere around me. Now, I was actually a little frustrated myself, but then I said to myself, well, you have 2 alternatives here, Hilde. Either you can join the choir and be in complaining mode, or you can find the person in charge and maybe do something about it. So what I did, obviously as a leader, was that in the break, I found the person in charge. And she was a total rookie, that totally did her best. And I said, would you be okay if you gather your team here in the break, and I will help you instruct them so we can actually increase the quality of this conference? And she agreed immediately. We gathered the team in the break. And then it wasn't necessarily that it was perfect after the break, but when people got instructions, when they knew how to do things, obviously it was improving at least 10 times, right? Now, when you are attending the business opportunity meeting in your town, or when you are participating at the regional event, who are you? Are you the one that are the complainer? Or are you the one that see where you can serve, where you can help out, how you can make things better? I do believe that this is extraordinarily important to be aware of as a leader. One of the questions that we get asked quite a lot from people entering into Zinzino is, how did Zinzino actually get started? And obviously, a lot of people are interested in that. And, you know, there is always a story behind the story. And to take you a little bit back in time, I got started with this profession when I was 20 years old. And in that company, I met Orion. So actually it was at an opportunity meeting, so it became quite a good opportunity for both of us. But anyway, in this company, it was originally nutrition. But then at one point, there was 2 different divisions being developed, one nutritional division and one division within service, within telecoms. Now, this was during the time where the deregulation of the market was happening and everything went from being government owned to being private owned. And there was a massive growth, I would say, in the service division of the company. So what the owners said to the leaders, to us, was that, you know, at one point we're going to separate these 2 divisions so that they become 2 different divisions. Those that would choose to work with service can work with that. Those that choose to work with nutrition can work with that. Then one day, the owner is calling Orion, and he says the following: we're going to sell the telecom division. Now, obviously, because we had heard what they had said before, we had promised what they had promised us to the T, right? And at that point, we got kind of like, you get smack into reality, right? You have to make a very quick choice. And what our alternatives was either, you know, we can just accept what they're doing, which is feeling quite stressful, you know, because again, we had promised something else for the team, or we could do something about it. So we decide that we're going to step up to responsibility, and we said, we'll raise the money, we'll buy this division. So we bought the service division of this company. And, you know, in the beginning, you know, you're new to this thing and everything is like ups and downs, but it's actually going quite well in the beginning. And then we realized that the reason why were actually selling this division, and yes, we were young, maybe we didn't do our due diligence as good as we should have, maybe they had hidden some numbers, but what we realized was that this company was bleeding money. So again, we had to step up to responsibility, and we actually had to sell that division. And in the process of selling, we paid the team 2 years of commission to ensure that we kept the responsibility. But as you probably understand, you know, you go from being, you know, a great company to actually now being, you know, it's usually we say it this way: we had thousands of people at events, and suddenly we went down to having less than 100 people on the next event. Because, you know, in that transition, you know, there is a lot of frustration, a lot of unhappiness. Now, obviously, as we're there, again, you run smack into reality, and you're faced, you know, with some decisions to being made. What should you do? Should you continue? Should you do something else? But again, we had made a promise. You know, we had said to ourselves that this was the profession that we wanted to do. This was what we really loved. And, you know, yes, we all have alternatives out there, and we also did have alternatives, but we love this opportunity. We love the way of giving someone the opportunity to start with 2 empty hands and create some magical results for themselves. So yes, we started because of that. Number 2, we started with Zinzino because we wanted to give people a safe home that they could build something long-term in. And number 3, We started Zinzino because we felt that it actually was the right thing to do. Now, in the same process, we gave everyone that had been a part of this previous raising of money the opportunity to convert their shares into Zinzino shares so that they could earn their money back. And it's been funny stories, happening over the years where, yes, a lot of people have earned their money back, but some people have earned 10 times, 100 times, based on what they initially invested a long time ago, because we gave people the option. But it was because we felt that we have to step up to responsibility. We have to keep our honor in this. Now, when certain things are happening in your team, who are you? Are you the victim or are you the leader? Now, what do you do with the different things that are happening around you? Now, I do believe that leadership is not about being perfect. It's not about not making mistakes, because we all make mistakes, but it's about getting up and doing what is right and finish what you started. Now, number 3 that you can write down. Are you the hero or are you the leader? Now, in the beginning of my business, I really loved to be the one that everyone called, and everyone wanted Hilde to do the presentations, because when Hilde did the presentations, there was so many sign-ups, right? And it's good to have that feeling. Actually, I was raised by both my mom and my dad, and I love them both so much. But my dad always had the same, where he said the following: if you want something done right, you better do it yourself, right? And there is different seasons throughout a career, and there is a season where you should be the hero of your team. There is a season where you have to be in charge of ensuring that you are filling up your own agenda. That should always be, obviously, the main priority, but that you're also helping your team fill up their agenda. But again, at one point, obviously you want duplication to happen in your team. And yes, you can be extraordinarily good at signing up a lot of people. You can sign up 1 person a week, 2 people a week, 4, 8, probably 16 people a week, right? Together with your team. But at one point, you're gonna run into reality when you don't have more time. You basically don't have more time. So again, in that process, how are you creating that duplication to ensure that you go to 32, 64, 128, and continue that growth path in your team? Well, that is by training people, ensuring that people feel confident in the process. And sometimes that means that you have to slow down to move faster. Sometimes that means that you have to be that silent bird, watching someone in your team doing the presentation, and you see that they are asking the wrong questions, and you see that they're not necessarily answering exactly how you would have answered, but the only way they could actually create themselves to become good as a performer first, and then later as a leader, is if you actually allow them to sometimes fail, but then take the time to coach them to become better right after. Number 4, are you the cheerleader or the coach? During my childhood years, I was exercising a lot. And I was a competition swimmer or competitive swimmer. I was basically using between 10 and 20 hours in the pool every single week. And, as you're doing sports, it's very important to have good cheerleaders around you. And I can say that my mom in particular, she's always, been my number 1 cheerleader, no matter what I do. Everything is great, right? And obviously, I can say that I'm really lucky to have such a mom that believes in me so much. But I also remember, as a very dominant red personality, sometimes when I had been I was competing and I really didn't do so well, and she said, well, Hilde, you were great. I hated that, right? But at the same time, it's important because, we have to believe in the people we have in our team, right? A mom needs to believe in her children. Anyway, I had several coaches over the years, but the coach that I actually loved the most was a man named Per. And Per was this strict, not necessarily so excited person, but he was very straight to the point. And when it really mattered, he also had this care and cheer with him. Now, I do believe that one of the things that is very important as we're building a large organization is to balance being a great cheerleader as also being a good coach. It's super important to understand that a lot of people, they won't necessarily be in your team if you don't cheer for them, if you don't necessarily, if they don't feel that you actually believe that they can make it happen. But sometimes you also have to be that tough peer to sit down with certain people and say, well, this is going well, this is going well, this is going well, but we have to work on this specific area. And if we can really nail this, I'm absolutely confident that we can bring you several steps ahead very fast. So being that someone that is not just setting out with that clear expectation and talking about the big picture, but also going into instructions and telling people, this you do well, but you actually don't do this so well. How can we actually look at how you can improve? And having that dialogue in a positive way where they feel also uplifted throughout the journey is essential to build strong leaders in your team. Number 5, recognition. You've probably heard the saying, babies cry for it and grown men will die for it, right? And one of the things that we are obviously very good at in our business in Zinzino is recognition. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people actually feel pulled towards being a part of our community, because here people feel seen, they feel heard. When you do something, people recognize what you do. Many years ago, I was reading a book written by Gary Chapman, I believe his name is, and it's a book that is actually written, it's called The 5 Love Languages, and it's actually written to, a couple, or to ensure that, you grow as a team, as you're together, in a loving relationship. But in this book, he talks about, like I said, these 5 love languages, and he says that what is critical is to know how you receive and give love. Because if I were to speak my language to you, if I were to speak Norwegian to you here today, well, maybe some of you would have picked up a few words, but most of you wouldn't have understood what I was talking about, right? So the only way the receiver can actually receive what you want to give is if you give it in a way that they will actually listen. Now, the 5 love languages he defines as the following. He says it's physical touch, it's words of affirmation, quality time, acts of services, and gifts. And knowing how, for instance, your spouse receive love and also how you receive love will definitely improve your relationship. But even though this is not a business book, I've seen so many commonalities to what we do in Zinzino as we're building an organization of leaders and where we're recognizing people. Because sometimes, I can feel that I'm recognizing someone and they don't feel recognized at all. So in certain occasions, the only way certain people on my team would feel recognized is that if I actually give them a pat on the back, or if I give them a hug and say, that was absolutely incredible, well done. because they have physical touch, as one of their ways of receiving appreciation. Now, sometimes it's words of affirmation. Some people, they take recognition, they want it public, and other people, they want it very exact and they want it private. Some people, they just want quality time together with you, where you take the time to sit down with them and listen to them. That's how they feel recognized by you. Other times, it's by doing certain things for them. And I'm for sure, one of the things that I always teach is don't do things for people that they can do for themselves. But there is exceptions to the rule. Because if I know that someone only feels recognized if I do something for them, I will step out of that and I will do those things to ensure on certain occasion that they feel cared for. Gifts, it doesn't necessarily matter how big of a gift it is, how expensive it is. Very often it's just the thought behind it. But being mindful about how you can actually recognize your team can create a massive growth and a massive transformation in your business. Number 6. We're getting there, right? Be mindful about the virus. Now, you've probably understood throughout the last couple of years that virus spread. We've heard that, right? And I do believe that it's important to be aware of what virus is spreading throughout your team. Usually, one of the things that we teach is that we say, take the positive down in your organization, bring the negative up to your upline. Now, I'm not necessarily saying use your upline as a trash can. That is not what I'm saying here, right? But I'm saying that if you start to chit chat about different details or different things that are happening with your downline, that's obviously going to create a very negative effect. So one of the things that is extraordinarily important in this process is to not just talk about something that could be a problem, that is a problem. Do something with it. Bring it up to somebody that can help you solve it. Involve the people that can help you get rid of the problem, because if you don't, it can be detrimental for your results. Now, here a while back, I had a lady calling me and she was a little upset. She said, wow, I just need to, let my heart out and tell this to somebody. And then, what was happening was that she had a conflict with somebody in her upline, and she was like really irritated and mad about it. And I said, well, I hear you. I understand. I've been working, with so many people over the years that I've also seen, there is always two sides of the story. But, instead of just talking about this person, maybe we should talk with this person. Now, at first, she was like super resistant. She was like, well, I really don't want him involved in it. that is not the reason why. I just needed to tell somebody. And I said, well, I can't do anything about it if we don't involve the person that we're actually talking about here. So when things are happening in your team, and obviously you've probably heard this said before, but if it wasn't for all of these people, this business would be very easy, right? And that's also obviously one of the reasons why our business is so fun, that we're dealing with a lot of different personalities, we're dealing with a lot of different people. But the only way we can create a strong, powerful team that are creating massive results is through solving certain conflicts that are happening along the way. And one of the things that is very important to understand is that there will be conflicts, because people are people. But again, leadership is about solving things as it happens. And very often, the reason why certain conflicts are happening is because of misunderstandings. because again, you believe that you are saying one thing and they receive it in a different way. Number 7, personal and professional development. Now, when I got started with this profession, I was absolutely not an overnight success. It took time. And about 4 months in, I probably made one of my most important decisions. I said that if I'm ever going to do this well, I need to make myself my most important project. Now, many of you have probably heard me share this before, but in that specific, in that process of thinking, I also committed myself to 2 specific action steps. I said to myself, I will study, I will read about all of the different areas that I need to grow in, and I would read 10 pages every single day. And then I will do 10 meetings every single week. Now, personal development is critical. You've probably heard Jim Rohn at one point say the following, and this is living, and it's probably going to live for generations to come. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Work hard on your job and you can make a living, which is fine, but work hard on yourself and you can make a fortune, which is super fine. Exactly what he said, right? And I love that quote. But personal development is how you think. It's your character. It's your self-image, what you believe that you are worthy. And that is a process that we all have to go through. Professional development is all of the different areas of our business that we have to master to be skilled in to do this business very well. And it's the balance between this. Studying both to become a better person yourself, studying the profession to become skilled in the different areas at the same time as you do. You break your comfort zone. You do again when you fail. You get back up. You try another time. Combining, having a number of activity filling your calendar, it's studying and doing at the same time, parallel. That will always create the biggest result. And being aware of that, being aware of how you do that yourself, as well as also how you duplicate that through your team, is absolutely essential. Number 8, to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower. I can say that there is nothing that has shortcut our process more for Orion and myself than to have great mentors around us, where we have asked questions and where we haven't just asked, but we've listened and we have applied the advices we were given. Now, very often, a lot of people are curious to learn. And they're asking about all kinds of things, But the big question is, do you do something with the advices that you are given? Or are you sometimes bold enough to actually ask for a coaching, to ask for a conversation, to ask for guidance? Now, very often, a lot of people aren't necessarily bold enough. But daring to be bold enough to actually step up and say, well, I think that this person or that person can actually help me with this. Daring to ask for some time, whether it's in your upline, your downline, or your crossline, could actually be very well time spent. And you would notice that within the Zinzino culture, people are very often willing to help. But being also that person that take the advices. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that you should put your brain in a box or brain in a drawer and don't think for yourself. That's not necessarily what I'm saying here. But there is so many people that I've met over the years that they're asking, but they never apply. And the reason why certain people have actually gotten results is because they have done themselves a few experiences over the years. And very often I say that, you don't always need to be the person that are peeing on the electric fence, right? A lot of people, they need to be that person that are experiencing, the pain themselves. But if you can ask, if you can get guidance, you can shortcut the process tremendously. So be aware, who do you have around you that can speak into your life and that you allow to also speak into your life. And then last but not least, number 9, inspired people produce results. In many ways, I feel that what we are doing is that we are developing a volunteer organization. And, in the corporate world, right? If you're the boss and if you have an employee that don't show up for work, that don't do what he or she is supposed to do, well, you could let them go at one point, right? And the person also that are employed would know that if they don't do, eventually they don't have a job. But here you don't have that leadership authority. Well, obviously you can choose whom to include in certain trainings and exclude in certain trainings, right? But obviously you want to develop a community of uplifted, inspired people. And leadership authority don't work the same way here as it would work in the corporate world, where you have the kind of both written and unwritten rules. However, what you have a massive amount of in our profession, and obviously you have that also in the corporate world, but that is leadership influence, leadership inspiration. And when it comes to this area, I find it fascinating. Obviously, God created us with one mouth and 2 ears. A lot of people, they're asking me, well, why is she growing so fast, or why is he doing so well? Well, very often it's not necessarily that they know so much more than the person that is asking. Very often, the big difference is that the person that are doing extraordinarily well, they are asking questions and they're listening to the person that is sitting in front of them's need. They're good at finding people's need instead of pulling a bag over their head of what is their needs. So when you are helping your team, when you're building your leaders, when you're raising new giants, how are you doing that? Are you focusing on your needs, or are you focusing on their needs? Do you manage to zoom out and show them the big picture? Like, for instance, now we have the qualification for 200% ECB in March, right? You have to enroll 1 ultimate kit during the month of February as an example to qualify. But a lot of people, they would just say, well, what does that really matter? What can I achieve from that in March? I don't know if I could utilize it, even if I don't. So they can have all of these excuses for not necessarily doing it. But then you have to be that someone that are zooming out and say that, well, if we do this in the month of February, well, this is the plan that we together can create in March. We can then get you up to executive quite fast. And from there on, 6 months from now, I do believe that we can get you to platinum. And then 1 year from now, do you remember when you said that you could actually, your dream situation would be that you would get to diamond? We could do that in 1 year. So do you manage to zoom out, or are you only managing to zoom in on what is the case here and now? Now, when you give people a call, do they answer your call? Do people feel uplifted in your presence, or do they feel that you're pushing them down? Now, being someone that are constantly lifting people's eyes and making themselves believe a bit more in themselves is probably one of the most precious skills that you can develop within leadership. So we've been talking about a lot of different things here today, but what I feel is really important is to, as you run through your notes here, Obviously, it's impossible to apply everything overnight, but ask yourself this: what is the number one thing that I really feel that I can grow in? Maybe what's the two or the three most important areas that I can grow in? And by jotting that down and making that as a priority during 2024, that can really transform your business and create such a ripple effect that is going to last for a very, very long time. Now, I do believe that, you know, you're given the authority to learn, to produce, but also to become that leader that are leading masses. I believe that you're designed to do great things. I believe that you are powerful beyond measures. So but sometimes we need that person to say that to us. We need someone to believe in us. And obviously, you want to develop that community where, yes, you have those people around you, but where you also are becoming that someone that are creating that belief and that are sowing that belief into the people you have in your team. Now, here, I believe it was yesterday, I posted a post on Instagram where I said that leadership, it's not about control, it's about service. Leadership is not about power, it's about empowerment. Leadership is not about positioning, it is truly about influence. And you have that influence within you. You are designed to develop and to grow and create that influence in your team. And through what you choose to do during 2024, that's not just going to affect your life, your results, your business results, but it's going to affect so many other people along the way. So again, let's all go out and create a community of leaders where we inspire change in life and where we are transforming people's life. And in the process, obviously, you transform your own life as well. So a pleasure to share with you here today. Thank you so much for everything that you do. I appreciate you. We truly are so grateful for all of the hours that are spent. You know, we could only do this together as a team. I can end here just very quickly and say that we have very, very ambitious goals for 2024. Like you probably have seen, we landed on about 170 million euros last year. We believe always that, you know, we're stretching towards 33% growth. But this year, we actually do believe that we could maybe hit actually 70% or even more. Obviously, the dominoes needs to fall in the right direction, but there is so many things that are happening in Zinzino now that is just so crazy good. And we believe that, yes, together as a team, maybe this actually could be the year where we are passing 300 million euros. That is obviously going to create so many incredible success stories, and I can't wait to hear your success story during this year.
Hilde, you are absolutely incredible. I just love to listen to you. I love to see this. And not only because you're teaching it, it's because you live this. And one of the words that really catches for me, that kind of pops in that maybe didn't really talk about, but actually you are doing with this, is the culture that you're bringing to Zinzino. The culture that I think people feel when they walk in the room, the love, the support, the service, because the best leader that I know didn't come to lead, came to serve. And I think that's the way that we are building Zinzino. That's why we're attracting so many other companies and other leaders. And I think because you set that, that's what we want to duplicate with these principles and with that culture that you bring. So thank you for taking the time makes us want to strive to be more. I've had people write me, yes, now I really want to be more like Hilde too. We grow up. So thank you, Hilde, for your time. And I'm going to unmute everybody so that we all can share and tell you how much we appreciate you. And thank you for these leadership principles. Let's all work together to hit that 100 million. It's going to be a great year. Thank you so much. Thank you, Hilde.
Thank you, Hilde. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hilde.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, Hilde.
Bye.
Thank you so much. That was amazing.